say that he was our administrator, or lead administrator for the year prior, and so he has a wonderful history with half of us.
So, when I started this, good afternoon, parents, teachers, district staff, and KCKCC staff, as well as community members, and of course students. As Marcia mentioned, I was the administrator last year, and so I know that we have a lot to celebrate today. I know that it's been, I'm very familiar with the journey that you all have made, both as a group and as individuals, in terms of your development, in terms of the struggles and triumphs. 5 weeks is quite a short amount of time, but it's also a very long amount of time in terms of what can transpire in those 5 weeks in terms of both academically and socially in the program. So I know that we have a lot to celebrate today. And but before I move on to other comments I want to make, I want to first acknowledge Ms. Marsha Pomeroy and her team, Ursula and Douglas, who work tirelessly year-round to make sure that this program continues to provide a rich and robust curriculum, that you continue to have these opportunities year after year. And so if you wouldn't mind joining me in acknowledging Marsha, and Ursula, and Douglas.
In the picture.
Did you get it, Scott? And Scott is
Yes,
our liaison to the Cherokee Nation and also the Indian Center, but he has become an integral part of our team in technology. Scott's right back there. We can thank you.
So I personally have been involved in programs like this for many years at different levels. First, as a student, I myself am a product of programs like this, from high school all the way to community college, at the university, and then even in graduate school. And then as a teacher as well, and then later as a coordinator and director. So I'm very familiar and know about the hard work that goes into making sure these programs continue, the sacrifice and love that goes into it. I also know what it's like to deliver a great program in the face of obstacles. Back in the day, we used to talk about making something out of nothing. Trying to run these programs on what we called shoelace budgets that were very little, but also remembering and acknowledging what it was like to fight for these programs year after year, when people doubted or didn't really understand the purpose of these kinds of programs. So today I want to start with the question, why, right? That's part of the challenge today, is to answer this question: why do this work, and why do it, and why should others care about this work? Recently, my very smart, talented, and beautiful wife, make sure you let her know I said that. Forwarded me a link to a TED Talk video by a person by the name of Simon Sinek. And Simon is the author of a popular book called Start With Why: How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone to Take Action. And so what Mr. Sinek tried to do, both in his speech and in the video, is he tried to answer the question, what makes a great leader? And so he looked at examples throughout our history. He looked in the area of technology, in business. He also looked in the area of social activism and civic leadership. And he talks about, some of the examples he puts out there is Steve Jobs and Apple computers, right? He talks about the Wright brothers, who accomplished the first flight back in 1903, airplane flight. And people like Dr. Martin Luther King. And he wants to know what makes these people different than other leaders. What is that one characteristic that makes makes them different? And one of the things that he found was, in some ways, they weren't very different than any other leaders of their time. They were very clear about what they were doing. They were very clear about how the means that they were using to go about accomplishing their goals. But what made them stand apart from everybody else was they began with the question, why? Right? And for a company like Apple Computers, that why wasn't, well, to make user-friendly computers that, and to make greater profits. That's not what he was talking about in terms of the why. For Apple, what he was referring to the why is, what is your purpose? What is your cause? What do you believe? What is your belief? And for people like, we take the example of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He didn't just go around the country talking about the things that needed to change in society. He talked mainly about what he believed. He professed what he believed. And sooner, and after some time, people began to believe in what he believed. And they began to take those beliefs as their own. And that's really how the civil rights movement grew, is people began to take ownership over these beliefs. There's more to his ideas. I'm just giving you the very short version here. And there's some things I don't necessarily agree with. But as I was trying to get together my thoughts for this challenge to you guys today, I started to ask myself, what is the why for the Summer Science Academy? What makes this a program that has been around for 14 years, right? Why is it that students at the end of every summer want to come back? Why do alumni, like many of the counselors and instructors who work in the program, why do they want to come back and teach in the program? Why? And so it got me thinking about these kinds of things. It got me thinking about what you've experienced over the last 5 weeks, right? We've heard it here. One of the things that the Summer Science Academy provides is a rich curriculum, a rich hands-on science curriculum with small group discussions, with project-based learning. Many of you had the opportunity to experience attending classes at KU, right? Taught by passionate teachers. You got to live on KU campus, one of the best universities in the country, right? You had access to mentors and counselors who encouraged you and supported you every day. From my experience last year, I know that you all have gained an extended family and have formed, in some cases, lifelong bonds with each other through this process, right? It is clear that part of the purpose of the Summer Science Academy is to expand opportunities and pathways for underrepresented students in the sciences. In this sense, the Summer Science Academy is working to address the alarming gap of students of color in sciences. Right? In the medical field, some research have shown that on average, for 3,500 patients, Spanish-speaking patients, there is one Latino doctor, right? If you compare that to Caucasian patients, for every 300 patients, there is one Caucasian doctor, right? In the field of science and engineering, if we want to remain competitive on the world stage, we're going to have to diversify where we draw from in terms of our future science engineers and scientists. Right? So you could argue that this is the why, the purpose for the Summer Science Academy, to increase diversity in the field of science, technology, engineering, and math. However, I want to kind of push on that a little bit. I want to argue something different. I want to dig a little deeper. I want to look at the everyday life in the Summer Science Academy. In the Summer Science Academy, You have teachers that challenge students every day with critical questions, who challenge teachers not to accept simple answers, to dig deeper with their questions, to ask new questions, to try to push on assumptions. You need to look also at how the program integrates art and sciences, and how you as students were challenged every day to use your voice, to cultivate your voice, whether it was through poetry, to performance, or through your classroom presentations, your PowerPoints that you had to prepare. Those are the kinds of things that you were challenged with. We also find it in how students and teachers act, talk, and think like a community of scientists, right? If you look at everyday speech, how people interact with each other, it was very much functioned like a community of scientists. As students, you were challenged to take risks in your learning and imagine a future self. For me, the why for the Summer Science Academy is rooted in challenging how we think about science, transforming our relationship with science. The Summer Science Academy is not about doing science for the sake of doing science. Science is always rooted in a social mission, in using science as a tool for improving the quality of life for families and communities from where we come from. In my own life, I was challenged by people like Ms. Pomeroy that cultivated a sense of purpose and responsibility for serving my community. It was people like your teachers, your counselors in the Summer Science Academy that believed in me more than I believed in myself. So just like these people, I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to think about and imagine a future you. What kind of scientist do you want to be? What kind of college graduate do you want to be? What kind of leader do you want to be? In a couple of years, you will be completing college applications. And some of them will ask you to write a personal question. They'll ask you things like, what are your career goals? What are your academic goals? How are you going to accomplish these goals? These are important questions, but probably the most important question that you need to answer is, what is your why? What is your purpose? What do you believe? What is your cause? And I want to challenge you students to think about this. Maybe in the next couple of weeks, maybe over the weekend, you start a journal with this question. What is your why? And reflect on that. And I invite you to take up this challenge because it's really important, and I have learned this over my life, that it's really important to be grounded in that why. Because you're gonna have experiences, you're gonna have events in your life that are gonna challenge you. They're gonna question your why. They're gonna make you question why you're even doing this. Why are you pursuing a career in science? Why are you pursuing a university education? You're going to be challenged with that every day, and it's important to stay grounded in your why. So the last thing I want to do is I want you to remember you are not alone in this journey. There are people here, the bonds that you have formed over the summer, use those. You're not alone in this journey. There are people who love and support you all around you. And there are people who are going to walk alongside you. So I want to leave you with that challenge. And I want you to take that challenge up and get inspired. So last year, one way that we got ourselves riled up, some of you guys know this, right? So let me hear it.